on your dial right now with SEC stories every play, every time with Rob Browne breaking it all down. Yeah. SEC Sidelines Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brendan Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune.
You got to get these guys in the boot room, I think.
We do.
I feel like they'd be great in the boot room over there at Hewlett Dunn.
I think you could sell tickets for $100 a pop for this.
Oh, yeah.
They're
backstage with the boys.
Yeah. Backstage, firing it up, eating some gummies with them. I think it'd be great.
Why not? Let's do it.
That's right.
Sounds
hey,
good. Get Bartoo in here.
It's a beautiful Monday morning. Rob Browne, Brendan Martin, Cal, I'm in Memphis. We have got Coach Pete Cordelli, Coach Ellis Johnson, and Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix.
Tom Cruise.
It is going to be a fun one. Exactly. And these guys, man, they've got a lot to bring. We're going to talk about, it is spring practice now. It's underway at a lot of the SEC schools.
I've been in it. We've been in it for a week around here.
I know. Yeah. Gators got in there last Tuesday. So we're going to talk about who's got to do what to figure this out. Interesting stuff we'll talk about today. How recruiting's being done now. You better be changing. You can't be out there yelling and waxing eloquent about how it used to be. But what you can do is hit share, subscribe, and like. We're on 8 channels of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We boost this thing, get it out there. Those of you that are watching, stick around. Go in there, click in, come watch us. We'd love to have you be part of the family. And guys, good morning, and thank y'all both for sharing your time with us. It means more than you know. And I was in Fairhope, Alabama over the weekend. That is about 45,000 people right on the other side of Mobile Bay. And we were going to go over to the Grand Hotel, see a friend of ours Saturday night after dinner. But he said, come on over here. The Yellowwood guy has got a wedding going on, Jimmy. So I was like, well, I'm sure that's going to be quite an event. But anyway, I just got to give a shout out. Went over there to see John Hartwell and his wife, and Yan Cowart and his wife, Susan. What a blast. The Gulf Coast Seafood's the greatest seafood on the planet. And I went to a place Saturday afternoon, the Fairhope Fish House, and they have crabs in there. They give them away. One of them, they're painted either orange and blue with Auburn or crimson and white with Alabama. But I got some fresh amberjack and a big old pile of crawfish. Came home last night, threw that amberjack, put some of that. How about this, guys, for a little love for Nick Saban? The rub was called Ite, boys. He would always go, Ite. But threw that on there with some olive oil, 20 minutes at 350 with some mushroom risotto. Woo, man, everybody wants to live in Fairhope, Alabama. Got to visit with Yan Cowart, my friend who played football at Auburn. Walk on, 4-year starter. Guys, remember these days, architecture major. And what an architect and what a house he has built down in Fairhope. Guys, he got a chance to talk to Alex Golish and Cody Burns down there about what's going on in recruiting. And I'll start with you, Ellis. Interesting how, we'll get to know these kids in high school, but then we'll come back in a year or two and go after them. You're recruiting today. Let's say yesterday at noon, you were introduced as the new general manager of you picked the SEC school. Let's say University of South Carolina. How would you do it?
I would almost have to just kind of start from scratch, bring some people in and start talking and formulate a path to what we were going to do. I will say certain schools, like if I'm at South Carolina, I'm going about 60% portal, less than that in high school. I think that the same colleges are winning the high school recruiting battles that always won them. Maybe they're not quite getting as many good kids each class. Some of them are spreading out, but I just still see the SEC dominating some of the top schools, and then Southern Cal and Texas schools, and then the Big Ten schools. And I don't think that's going to change no matter what the rules happen. So, I just think it'd be if you're at a school that doesn't have the history, the tradition, and all the championships like a South Carolina, I think you got to really focus on the portal.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are doing. Pete, how would you do it if you were named coach of XYZ school out there we'll start in the SEC, just pick the school. How about University of Arkansas?
Well, if I'm in Arkansas or I'm in any SEC school, first thing I want to do, and I'm like Ellis, it'd probably be 60% portal, but we already have the NFL model with the pro scouting department and the college scouting department. So now what you do is do the portal scouting department off current guys, and then you do the high school. But I will say this, I would go after as many in-state high school kids as I could to keep those coaches understanding that the first priority is Arkansas kids to Arkansas, South Carolina kids to South Carolina. Don't let Clemson beat us. Don't let any Oklahoma come into Arkansas, because you're going to need the high school coach 2 years down the road in the bounce back. A lot of times when people talk about tampering, it's not tampering. My gosh, we've heard, Ellis and I have been through recruiting long before the portal, and we would get calls from high school coaches going, "Coach, you still interested in my guy that you recruited a couple of years ago? He's not happy at University X." The bounce back's been around for a long time, but I would concentrate on in-state kids right now, have them come to our camp so that we could evaluate them in person. I say this, I mean, I knew Nick Saban when he was an assistant at Navy. And then he went to Ohio State. Then he went to Michigan State as an assistant. As a head coach, he never offered a scholarship to a kid he personally didn't work out. Yeah. When he became the head coach at LSU in Alabama, the big thing was get him on campus and come to summer camps. So not only do you work them out on campus, Nick got to put guys on the board. We had a defensive back at Olive Branch High School that played with KJ Wright by the name of Rod Woodson, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And Rod went to Alabama, but when Rod went on his visit, Nick put him on the board. He said, "You're a safety. Show me cover 2. Show me cover 3." He actually interviewed the kid like a coach. So when you still don't give up, you still don't put as much emphasis on high school recruiting, but you have to try to recruit your state. You got to, people keep talking about build a wall around the state. You got to do that. Even though you may not get every kid, at some point, the relationship you built, that'll come back to help you when you do want them in the bounce back. But 60% portal, without question. The other thing I'd do is I'd go a little bit of junior college too, because now with the rules, especially with Pavia being, given an extra year of eligibility, I don't know if the eligibility, you could probably go to court again. And let me tell you something. This meeting that they had Friday in Washington, D.C., There were three missing components. Number one, there were no student athletes there. Number two, there were no current head football coaches there. Number three, Thomas Mars wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous to have a meeting and not have the most important figures there.
Yeah.
And then go, well, we're going to go back. We want to go back to the way it was. No, you don't. That genie's out of the bottle. You're not getting it back.
Yeah. Pete, let me ask you something. And I'm going to throw this one to Ellis and then back to you. I was told when I was in Fairhope that Governor Kay Ivey, Meemaw, has decided they're going to let, I think, all these community colleges in Alabama have football. I don't think people are talking enough about that, man. This is what I call a big ass deal in the Deep South, Coach Ellis Johnson. And your thoughts on that? And we're going to start playing rapid fire. And then, Bartoo's going to be in here. He's having some coffee out there. That daylight savings time really kicks his ass out. But Ellis Johnson, you're on the board. I love that.
He better have a bag of gummies for that one.
That's right. Well,
And that's what she's going to do. What she's going to allow all the community colleges to have football.
Yes.
Yeah, how is that going to work?
She just kind of start trying to do like the Mississippi League or something.
Yeah. Well, think about. Hey, guess where I went on Highway 45.
Like one Mississippi, two Mississippi.
Yeah. When you go to Mobile and Orange Beach and Fairhope, you take Highway 45, and that is the land that time forgot. But you know what I went through on the way down and back? Scuba, Mississippi, home at East Mississippi Community College. Last chance, you, Ellis Johnson. There's 17 junior colleges in Mississippi. Nobody has more than them. Kansas used to have a lot, but what do you think about that? If you had a chance to sit down with Governor Kay Ivey, Meemaw, and talk about that,
The more schools that play football beyond high school, the better, in my opinion.
Yes,
and many scholarships as you can find. But I'll have to say this: about the last 10 years of my college coaching career, who in the hell are these kids that can't get in college? I ain't recruited anybody in 15 years that didn't get in school. All you got to do is just, this dude's going to sign a scholarship. He's going to get in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
what was the hardest thing though in recruiting? What was it like going to the JUCO kids, the JUCO kids? You know, like what I always was wondering, were they hungrier? You know, back in the day, or you know, what was that experience like?
They were just as varied as the high school kids were, and different programs. You know, some were well run, some were really bad. You'd go to recruit a good-looking kid on film, and he's taking auto shop. It's at a JUCO. You know, he's not even planning on going to play anywhere. Man, that was a good-looking kid out in the Kansas League when I was still coaching. And his dad had a farm, and the kid was taking some kind of agricultural thing. He wasn't even going on to college, and he was the fastest kid out there. White kid, defensive back. I don't remember his name, but you see all kind of different stories. In general, when we were coming through, we had the California leagues and the Kansas leagues. There's some up in the Northeast, and then there was the Mississippi schools. And if you wanted to make sure they had a shot to get in, and they were playing pretty good competition, if you couldn't go all the way out to California, go to the Kansas leagues. They were better about all that.
Yeah, Coach, Garden City Community College, Hutchinson, you know, out there in Kansas, and Pete, I remember going down and watching a kid named Andre Roan out of Daytona Beach Seabreeze, the Sand Crabs, 1994, and another running back. He was out of Asheville, North Carolina, John Avery. Now, Terry Bowden had signed Andre Roan at Auburn, and John Avery came out of Asheville. They were at Northwest Mississippi Community College with a guy that I met a couple of times at Touchdown Club and stuff, Bobby Joe Franklin, former Ole Miss Rebel. And I mean, it was interesting to hear. There was one kid, someone asked about his grades getting in, and I'm not going to say which coach said it, but one of the coaches said, son, that kid couldn't even pass gas. I mean, it's a struggle with some of them. So you got to wonder, Pete, some of the stories with you and Coach Ellis Johnson asking for the transcript. I mean, that's like asking for a woman's hand in marriage, and they're like, oh. Pete, quickly, what do you got, Lauren?
Rob, Bobby Joe Franklin was absolutely tremendous for Northwest Mississippi Junior College. Bobby Ray, after he left Ole Miss, he played for the Dallas Cowboys, came back and had a great program going at Northwest. But look, I'm fired up for Alabama. Here's why. Not only does it give more kids a chance to play, it gives more coaches chances for jobs. Yes. We're going to hire more coaches. That is super, getting more young people involved. The one state that needs junior college football more than any is Arkansas. Yeah. They need the junior college program to develop those kids. And I tell you what, you get it in Florida. I mean, you got the one down in Miami that's pretty damn good. But other than that, you got the basketball, junior college basketball conferences in what is it, Chipola up in Northwest? In
the Panhandle, yeah.
Yeah, but if you put football in Florida, and you wouldn't have all those Florida kids going to Kansas to play junior college football.
Yep.
So I just think between the Mississippi League, the Alabama League, if Arkansas and Florida would do it, at Georgia, you got Georgia Military Academy, who produced many, many good players over the years. But it would increase not only scholarships, it would increase coaching jobs, which is absolutely a positive. But you know what? It would give kids a chance to absolutely get on an academic track to get them to a 4-year school.
Hey, Pete,
And that's all they're looking for.
Yeah, I'm doing the Kirby Smart from the Auburn Georgia game. We still don't know, is this a clap or is this a timeout? But I like to do that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I got to ask you this. When you look at these, I'm with both of y'all. In order for us to have a John McEnroe or a Jimmy Connors in tennis, or Venus and Serena Williams, or anybody that's a great tennis player, you pick that, Rod Laver and Stan Smith came out of Australia, but wherever you're getting them, it takes millions of people to get that. The more people you have playing, both of y'all would agree, it's just that many more opportunities to find them. And when you got all those coaches working in the junior colleges, they're wanting to move up, every single one. Between the two of y'all got over 76 years of coaching experience. That's so important. But if you start, look at Ryan Silverfield, Coach Johnson. I've got to know him and coaching at Memphis through Dr. Hardgrave. He's now at Arkansas. He started coaching when he was 18 years old down in Jacksonville, Florida. He went to the Bowles School. He's now 45. That's 27 years of deposits into his mental savings account. That's big, isn't it?
Absolutely. And there are a lot of coaches who started a similar track. They weren't good enough to play.
Yeah.
So instead of just, going to college, maybe taking a PE degree and try to go get a junior high school coaching job, they either became a manager for the football team or, maybe a film guy, anything they could do to get in that building and start listening and learning and helping. And I tried my oldest one. He was a decent little baseball player, but not good enough to play at a major college. He played at junior college and wasted a whole year. And I could have gotten him on as a manager. And if you're a manager for a football coach, you're like a little, you're setting up the drills, you're doing a lot of menial work, but you're right there. You hear everything they're teaching the kids in that position. Depending on how the team works, team things are organized, you're right on top of things. And of course, he couldn't see it. He was, I'm not going to be a manager, Ted, but it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't listen.
Well, I'm going to say something, and I'm not going to name the school or the kid, but it's someone I know very well. He was a manager for a football team in the SEC for 4 years. They couldn't pay him anything. He worked his ass off. When it came time to get his master's in accounting, the head football coach of this particular school said, I know that your employer that has you on the internship wants to pay for it. I'm paying for it out of his own pocket. That was over $60,000. People, you don't know what these coaches do behind the scenes, but I've gotten to know y'all. I've known Pete 33 years. Like I said, I've seen Pete at Mass. He prays hard. What you do out of your pocket. And my friend Tommy Christenberry, who played for you at Arkansas, he loves you, man. He remembers Pete as a GA when he was playing for Lou Holtz at Arkansas. And we were talking about Coach Holtz the other day. And the stories he said, what these coaches do off the field. And, you can't do this. They pour their hearts out into these kids. Coach Johnson, I know stories about you that will blow. That's why when you're on TV and you're watching a game with, Vern Lundquist and Gary Danielson, and they go, there's Ellis Johnson on the sidelines. You go back to that South Carolina-Alabama game in 2010, they were raving about you. I mean, because they know about you. And Pete, just like what Ellis said, the more these kids, like you've got a son that's a GA at Murray State, don't you, Coach Johnson?
Yes, that's where the oldest one's grad assistant.
Yeah. I mean, you don't just show up, Pete, when you're 25 and go, I'm the next Nick Saban. Yeah, go to aisle 3. It doesn't work that way. It's so hard.
Well, Coach Holtz, coming out of Follinsby, West Virginia, went to Kent State, and as a linebacker, but he got hurt. He hurt his knee, and the football coach there put him on as a GA. He started as a student coach.
Yeah.
The beginning of my senior year at NC State, our final scrimmage before our first game, I got hurt. I broke a vertebrae in my neck. I got hit from behind and I saw it coming. Anyway, long story short, they were going to make the doctors had to make a decision whether they're going to put the halo on or keep me in traction. I said, hell, you put the halo on, all the air is going to go out of my head. It's going to flatten out. Yep. I don't need that damn halo. So I sat in traction, but Coach called and he said, look, I know you want to coach. As soon as you get out of the hospital, you come over here and be a student coach. So if it wasn't for Lou Holtz, I don't get into coaching. And and he goes, look, I remember going through the days when I got hurt and stuff. And so that happens. The greatest manager story out there today is Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah.
Jimmy Sexton went to Tennessee. Jimmy Sexton's dad, Dr. Sexton, a dentist in Memphis, was roommates with Johnny Majors at Tennessee when Coach Majors was in school. So Dr. Sexton called Coach Majors and said, look, can you get Jimmy involved in the football team? He said, sure. Jimmy Sexton became a manager and became best friends with Reggie White. Jimmy Sexton became Reggie White's agent through that relationship. And now he's the most powerful agent in all of college sports.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Coach Majors saying yes to help his dad, that doesn't happen. And then, obviously, when you have Reggie White, that helps too. But
yeah. Now, it was an incredible story because Dr. Sexton, called Kyle Rote Jr. told this story on our show one time. And Kyle, you spoke at my third grade sports banquet at PDS. And he's like, how the hell did you remember that? I said, because it was a great speech. And he works out at the Y, still incredible shape. He was 16 years old. He turned pro as a soccer player in Dallas. Father, Kyle Rote Sr. wrote one hell of a football book we all used to read. And so in the summers, they would come home from New York and spend some time in Memphis. And, of course, everything is relationships. I want to say something real quick. We got all the basketball going on. I know it's a football-heavy Monday. But SEC tournament brackets, everything cranks up Wednesday up in Nashville. And the folks, Franz Beard and the crew, a lot of them going to be up there in Nashville. So we're going to have extensive coverage on SEC basketball tournament, all 16 teams, technically still in the running for an NCAA tournament bid. But the Gators, it's the Gator Invitational, really. And if they want to win this tournament, I think they will. Bottom line is SEC basketball last year had 14 teams. If they get 9, 10 this year, that's still going to be a hell of an accomplishment. And I don't know, Franz is right. Big Ten has 18 teams. They'll get 32 bids. Bottom line, SEC basketball, it isn't going anywhere. Neither is SEC football. Both of y'all, and Bartoo should be on here momentarily, but Coach Johnson, in spring practice right now, do you have 15 or do you have 20 days?
15.
You only have 15. You used to have 20. When people say it used to be tougher, there was a lot more contact. Well, the hell there was. Do you think that the way they're practicing now is as effective as it was 10 years ago? If just going back that short.
But repetitions they just make you better.
Yeah.
So they've taken a lot of repetition out of it. Obviously, it's not as good. Coaches are adapting, though. They do give them more time with the players not in full uniform or not with a football or whatever. They got all kind of little restrictions, but they get quite a bit of walk-through, jog-through time in the off-season that was illegal back when I was in there. But the number of spring practices is almost ridiculous. A lot of that came from the Trainers Association, but what they've ended up doing is transferring all the, soft tissue injuries and the broken arms and stuff. They've just moved them into the fall.
Yeah.
And more of it's happening in games now instead of happening on the second scrimmage in spring.
Yeah. Well,
That's the only thing.
yeah, and bottom line is, it takes. I'm not a doctor, but doctors have told me, said, yeah, an ACL injury is going to take about a year, and maybe 80% of the recovery comes quickly in the first 3 months or so. But that other part of cutting and moving around on a football field takes a long time. No different than basketball. And I've seen y'all, South Carolina now, I think, has a second offensive lineman that they've brought in. One of them got hurt, Pete, playing basketball. Probably, they're saying he may be back by November. It's just not. I want to ask y'all both. I know y'all are football guys. You look at SEC basketball, and we've always had in the past, Pete, athletes that were dual sport. When you look at a kid in high school, and I think of a defensive tackle out of Viger down in Pritchard, Mobile, Sinderic Marks was a defensive tackle that played for Tuberville. They found him. He was a 2 or a 3-star. But what I remember, he was the leading rebounder in the state of Alabama. He averaged like 19 or 20 rebounds a game. And Sinderic wasn't 6'2", 6'3", but he had a hell of a college and also a pro career. Pete, you love the multi-sport guys?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Rob, I don't know if you remember this, or Coach Johnson. When I was at Memphis State, I recruited a kid out of Birmingham by the name of Tim Harris.
Ooh, yeah.
And Tim Harris was being raised by his grandma, and his family situation was really rough in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So grandma had a sister in Memphis. I didn't see Tim Harris play any football because he didn't play that much at the high school he was at. But I went and watched him in 2 basketball games.
Yeah.
And I went back, and Coach Williamson, Richard Williamson, was the head football coach then. And then there was a change, and Rex Dockery came in. And I said to Rex, look, this kid, he can absolutely get up and down as a basketball player, but I think his best sport is football. So talking to his grandma, she said, yeah, I need to get Tim out of here. This isn't a good environment here in Birmingham. So she sent him to live with her sister, his auntie, in Memphis. And we signed Tim Harris at Memphis. And so that was because of watching him on a basketball floor. I love basketball, football combination, wrestling, football, track, now lacrosse.
Yes.
Because there's change of direction, there's a little contact. You got to have some vision about you. You got to have some balance. But the more things that you can do, the more valuable you become. And it also improves your athletic ability. And plus, I want to see you compete, man. That's why we go watch guys. On tape, you never see a kid's body language. Like if he makes a bad play, does he come and hang his head? Or, what's he like on the sideline? Does he go sit at the end of the bench by himself, or is he encouraging to his teammates? Real-time, live game action, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. And I want to see kids play 2, maybe 3 sports. Because here's the other thing, Rob. Nobody knows what they're really good at until they grow into their bodies. And they haven't completely grown into their bodies in high school.
Yeah. So, Ellis, along that line, it's been said to me by many people, and your brain doesn't fully develop till about your 25th birthday. And I question that. I think some people, it just never happens. But you look at Coach Dr. Andrews has said on this show many times about when you look at the Super Bowl rosters, you look at the guys like Tom Brady, you get to the Super Bowl, 90% of those guys, even today, were multi-sport athletes in high school. If you're talking to a kid today, and let's say he's in a camp and you're running a camp, he's a sophomore in high school. And he says, Coach, the parents are talking to you, and he's going, what advice would you give us to have a longer career? Because he's just stuck just on football. What else could he do?
Yeah, I agree in everything Pete said. And the kid we've been talking about a little bit the last couple of shows, KJ Wright.
Yeah.
He was a heck of a basketball player. I never saw him on film in football. Brick Haley was recruiting him. And, you know, I needed to look at him because he probably going to end up being an outside linebacker. And, man, we went up watching him play basketball. He could have played small college basketball. No question. He was that athletic. But that's just one example. But I loved when if you could go see them play basketball, you could find out a lot about their footwork, their quickness, their athleticism. I mean, from an offensive tackle to a cornerback.
Yeah.
You will see him do some things on a basketball court that will tell you whether he can pass pro, you know, has some natural ability, or if he can cover a wide receiver. You can see a lot of those skills. Wrestling, nothing better for balance, strength, toughness, and competitiveness. If a kid's a good high school wrestler, I guarantee he's mentally tough.
Yeah. I mean,
Hey,
wrestling.
Rob,
Totally.
Rob, to go along with what Johnson just said, Coach Holtz always had a philosophy. We would try to save one scholarship in the spring because Coach, he actually coached the special teams himself. He wanted to find the speed guy. We would keep one scholarship to go watch guys run track and a track football combination so we could get a great return guy or a great cover guy, gunner.
Yeah.
Because Coach Holtz took such great pride in the speed of either covering a punt, returning a kickoff, returning a punt. And I got to tell you, 3 different times, NC State, Arkansas, Minnesota, we ended up signing a guy in the spring that contributed in the fall.
Yeah.
That we didn't know about, but because of his track, that's why we would go to state track meets. State of Texas. The state track in Austin. Well, now you don't have to worry about going out to Lubbock or West Texas or down to San Antonio or over to Beaumont. Those kids come to Austin and you get to see them for a whole week.
Yeah.
And that's why it's such a great advantage for the Texas staff. They just sit up in their press box and they watch relay teams, the 100-meter, and they're going, okay, coach. So now all of a sudden they're going, well, hey, son, let me show you weight room. Let me show you our.
Yeah.
It's an on-campus visit, for Texas. And
Accidentally.
But we signed 3 guys. We signed one at NC State, Arkansas, and the kid at Arkansas, Bobby Joe Edmonds, played 9 years in the NFL out of St. Louis and Minnesota. And Coach always believed to get a speed guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think,
changed.
It's so important at these junior colleges. What's going to happen, Ellis Johnson, when we start going statewide in Texas? And we, when we have statewide junior colleges, well, we got them in Texas, but more of them. And if they do that in Arkansas, I think that'd be huge. Okay. So I want to start looking. Brendan's sending me some really good information. Spring camps kicking off everywhere. And again, we're going to get in heavy with basketball the rest of this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It is SEC tournament this week. Everybody's trying to get into the NCAA tournament. Again, I think we're going to have 9 or 10 schools, but spring football is underway. You've got Florida, South Carolina, Alabama is going to, they're getting rolling. Texas, I'm looking down on the list. Oklahoma opens today. Most others, Georgia, Auburn, etc., hit the field mid to late March, obviously. Spring games set for mid to late April. Early focus on integrating transfers and freshmen. 30 Alabama QBs in formation on day 1. Alabama's massive rebuild under Kalen DeBoer. I want to ask you all about that. I think Alabama had 30 guys go out the door, Pete, and you're bringing in, let's say you're bringing in 15 out of high school, but 31 new guys in the portal. I don't think people are paying attention to that, but if you've had relationships with them since they were in high school, does that help if you're bringing them in via the portal?
Well, number one, the high school kids, how many early enrollees? How many of those Alabama or just any SEC school? How many of those kids were there for the bowl practice?
Yeah.
And, there were a number of them. So now they understand the practice schedule. They've gone through the weight program in January while the other coaches were out recruiting. They've already been in meetings. It's not like you're bringing them in and this is the first time they've heard terminology,
Yeah.
how you call things. Now, so the high school early enrollees, the transfer portal kids, obviously they got in there before January 16th. They're in the same boat. So now there's an old saying, you talk it, you chalk it, you walk it. Now it's time to run it. So
Yeah.
we talked it, we've put it on the board and chalked it. We've walked it probably through walkthroughs a million times. Now it's time to run it.
Yeah.
Now it's time to actually see guys full speed. Go get it. Now, it's watered down in spring practices, shorts and helmets. I mean, its practice is so watered down. I mean, it's like asking two prize fighters, "Hey guys, we want you to fight for the the heavyweight championship, but guess what? You can't spar. Just get in the ring and do it."
Yeah.
Now you can't get in the ring until September. So what the hell are we doing in March? We're pushing and pulling on guys, and great effort. The one thing about spring practice I hate is the false hope coaches give to their fan base. Oh yeah, Jimmy Joe, he scored 5 touchdowns in this game. Yeah, he ran it against the third team walk-on corner.
Yeah.
Don't give your fan base false hope. But yet, have you heard a head coach ever say, "Man, we didn't do a damn thing in the spring. I don't know if we got any better." You don't know if you got any better. Not doing football things to make you better.
Yeah. Yeah. All right,
Somebody's their chest miles an hour doesn't happen in spring practice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to do it. Dave, man, I was thinking about you. I just said daylight savings time. I was going, wow, it was normally, now you're on at 6 your time. This is like 5 o'clock your time. First off, thank you a million for coming in and joining us, having an interesting discussion about the spring practices and everything underway and integrating these rosters. Dave, you're bringing in 15 high school kids and then 30 plus in the portal. Now, not getting into X's and O's and the names of all these guys, but, Alabama, you got Austin Mack. That's the guy that we've been hearing about for 3 years with Kalen DeBoer. This is the guy. This is the future. He's a West Coast guy, came from Washington with him. I'm just curious. You look at Oregon, your school. Then you go down to the other end, Miami, where Mario Cristobal is now. Can you keep the model that you used with college football matrix that you used 5 years ago or 10? What about 10 years ago? Would you even be employed?
Well, what do you mean keep the model that we're using? And apologies, we had a 911. We had a pig issue here, so there was been up all night with birthing pigs. So sorry about that.
You can't get better than that. I love that. I love it. And by the way, we got
you can take the nerd away from the computer, but you can't take the farm out of the kids or something like that. So
let me tell you something, Dave. Dave's down in the South, in Memphis, the first ever grocery store. You know what the name of it is? Clarence Saunders started it back in the early 1900s. Piggly Wiggly. I'm big on the pig. And there's still 500 or 600 of them around in the South. But Dave, thank you so much, man, for jumping in here with the coaches.
I think when it comes down to spring ball, I think the toughest thing that people don't talk about is the integration. It's not necessarily the coaches. I think one of the big things that's not talked about psychologically is the integration of the incoming players to this kind of football. And specifically on the mental side is I do believe there was much less pressure years ago for players to develop and understand the offense, understand the defense, and work themselves into the team. And now there is so much more pressure to pick it up and learn or be cut. So I think one of the really tough dynamics is that transition from high school to college, and then that's one of the reasons why a lot of college coaches, especially guys on the hot seat, are going away from the development, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. The problem is when you rely completely on the portal, usually the next year, there's nothing there. You see a lot of guys get fired. So finding that balance between success and failure with players that can learn the system quickly, I think is one of the most difficult things of spring right now.
All right, with Texas football, I want to ask you this. You said last summer about Arch Manning, he would struggle early and often.
Yeah.
25,
Yeah.
30 starts is the number that the NFL likes to see. He's had some minor foot surgery. Brendan's putting out some unbelievable content that he's finding out there, but he's coming back from some minor foot surgery. He's brought in some receivers like Cam Coleman from Auburn, who was on back-to-back 5 and 7 teams. He probably has a better chance to win immediately. But Arch Manning, this is his 4th year to be on the football team. How do you rank him in terms of quarterbacks? Because if his last name was, Finkelstein, would he be this highly thought of?
He should be.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's remove the name Manning. Okay. You can put anything you want in there. You can put in Cordelli, you can put Johnson, you can put in Browne, you can do. You are a quarterback that is at Texas in his 4th year with a top 5 offensive coordinator and top 5 talent. You better be freaking good this year. Right? Name aside, you have the absolute best of everything. You have continuity, you have longevity, your offensive coordinator is top 5, your offensive line coach has been there the entire time you've been there. You have talent, NFL talent, everywhere around you. Okay? So name aside, that guy to me better be showing that he is a top quarterback at college. I don't think he's going to be an NFL quarterback. I think he went to the wrong school. Guys that do school with a ton of talent generally don't produce in the NFL. I think they learn how to carry the bags on Saturday because they don't be the best player on the field in a team full of top players. But that aside, I feel that as a college quarterback, the numbers he put up, given that scenario, no matter what the last name is, that guy should be absolutely blowing up this year.
Ellis Johnson, you heard what Dave just said. Forget his last name.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it and you look at all the measurables, and then I think the one thing that keeps coming back to me is he didn't play much competition in high school. And so that, I think he was able to pad a bunch of stuff, and there's nothing critical of him. It's just it didn't mean much. But I think athletically, talent-wise, of course, like Dave's already said, he's got all the help around him he needs. I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't have a really good year, because I think last year it was a combination of nagging injuries, little tiny things that maybe got him off a little bit. And he hadn't played any football in college. I mean, just, people kept saying it, but everybody was like, yeah, but he's a Manning. And he was a number 1 player recruited when he came out. So, a little bit of hype, just kind of like what Pete was saying earlier, coaches overhype their teams coming out of spring practice. And, a lot of it, you're just trying to praise a kid for doing a good job, or either you're trying to maybe, talk about some of the positive things you did, keep your fan base energized. But he's right. I mean, you can get overboard with it, and you talk about having this ready and this ready. In your mind, good and well, you have no idea it's been tested. You have no idea that you've really reached that point of excellence.
Yeah. All right. And Dave, then I'm going to ask you another question and go back to Pete. Looking at Georgia, they've won back-to-back SEC championships. Gunnar Stockton came back. They had a big-time quarterback, a 5-star out of Nashville, Christian, wasn't he, Pete? Who ended up signing
Jared Curtis.
Jared Curtis with Vanderbilt. Okay,
Yes.
So Dave, I want to ask you, Kirby Smart hadn't had a top 25 efficiency defense the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you know something. I'm actually waiting for them to break out. You know, they've done enough to hang on. I think they've adapted well. Their coaching continuity has been solid. I don't think the loss of Muschamp does anything. We were just talking about Texas and fading Manning last year. I'll fade Will Muschamp and the Texas defense this year. But with Georgia, it just feels like Kirby has been trying to get his footing in this new NIL. And so it just hasn't been an elite offer, hasn't been an elite defense. And it just feels to me, and there's just a feeling that a guy that good, and I'm talking about Kirby as a defensive coordinator, a guy that good just can't stay down below his standard that long. So I expect Georgia defensively and as a team to be remarkably better than the last couple of years.
All right. Dave, Pete, along that line with Gunnar Stockton, you've coached a lot of quarterbacks. He comes in out of high school, all-time leading passer in Georgia high school history. He makes a lot of clutch plays. What Dave said about carrying the bags. He had some talent around him last year at receiver. I don't know what he's got coming in this year specifically, but I want your thoughts on what Pete just said. I mean, Dave just said about Georgia.
I'm with Dave 1,000%. I think Georgia's going to break out this year, and here's why. Their starting offensive line did not play together until the middle of November. It's a long time to go without your starting 5. And then Bobo, the center, gets hurt in the polling.
All right. Well, I have issues with his web, but you talk about lack of continuity, and Ellis Johnson, Dave always talks about lack of continuity or continuity. And the best example you gave, Dave, was Ryan Day with Ohio State when they played Miami in the playoffs. You kept saying, guys, don't let that be lost. Ryan Day is going to suddenly start calling plays. Ellis, you know what it's like calling a defense. If you've been out not calling it and you've been a head coach for 5 years, suddenly you got to call plays. It's a shock to you, isn't it?
Yep. And I think, you may not call a bad play, but you don't have that quick recall and that ability to get in and out of stuff, make an adjustment. I think it really is. It almost becomes a technique, if you will, being able to think that quickly and think ahead. And you got so much else on your mind as a head coach during the course of that game. I just think it's hard. And I do think it's easier offensively than defensively, but I still think it's hard.
Yeah. Well, Dave, another thing here. You got Josh Heupel at Tennessee. Joey Aguilar, he didn't have Tom Mars as the attorney. We know that. Tom Mars is pretty damn good in the courtroom, but he's got some options to go to. We'll start with Josh Heupel, but kind of bouncing around the SEC in the spring. The conference, 3 years in a row, we know what the Big Ten's done. The talent's everywhere in the South. And we always talk about speed in the South. Oh, it's so great. You said something the other day, said the top 5 NFL teams last year, speed-wise.
Yeah.
Only one of those 5 made the playoffs. Said speed isn't real. Elaborate.
Well, speed's real, but it is at the NFL level and college football level, focusing on one elite characteristic, especially at the NFL level, has proven we've shown it in the numbers that having a draft focus on 1 or 2 elite talents simply is a fool's errand. And so, just as you were talking and asking that question, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, because you had mentioned there is physical talent. You didn't say physical, but that's what went off in my mind. There is speed, size, there is athletic talent everywhere in the SEC.
Yeah.
But when you look at the elite athlete, the elite performer, whether it's at college or the NFL, there's three things. There's three critical things that make up that elite athlete. One of them is that elite athleticism, okay? The other two, you have mental stamina. This is how tough are you up here, right? Are you the first guy in, the last guy to leave? How driven are you? So one of the questions I would be looking at when I'm looking at all these SEC players is, okay, athletically they're there. How many of them are as mentally driven as they used to be? Right? And then the third one is game aptitude. This is your game IQ. How much are they working on being a smart football player? How much are they learning their craft versus relying on their athleticism? If you don't have the athleticism, you can make it up with mental stamina and game IQ. But when you're talking the SEC and all these players moving around, all the money and all the hype, how many of them are losing stamina and game IQ because of NIL? Because if you're not seeing that in SEC players and more people relying on athleticism, that's lesser overall talent. The physical talent may be there, but the mental talent may not be what it used to be in the SEC.
Yeah. Pete, back with us, talking about these guys going into the combine. There's so many things, but it's a long job interview. We know we've got a lot of talent in the SEC, but also these draft numbers are crazy because Caleb Downs started at Alabama. He's now at Ohio State. And it's going to take a few years for this to work itself out, or is it?
Yeah, it will, because of the coaching that you get. You know, those numbers, like I said, they're only 1/8 of what you do. It's how productive were you on the field. Look at the kid who went to Seattle from South Carolina, Emmanuel. I can't pronounce his name very well, but I mean, the kid was a big nickel, you know, and then he gets to Seattle, and I mean, my gosh, he's all pro as a rookie, but it's because Mike McDonald and that defensive staff with the Seahawks used him in a variety of ways. That's where I see Caleb Downs making an impact with the right coordinator. He's not going to be every team is not for Caleb Downs. You're going to have to learn how to use that guy in the right way. And it goes back to what Dave said. Athleticism, football intelligence. How is he dialing in week to week to week in the NFL? And remember this now, it's a long damn season in the National Football League. In college, you get a break during the day. In the NFL, it's 24/7, man, and it is a grind, especially when you get into December and then playoff football. Yeah, it's mental toughness. And, I mean, I can remember we had a kid at Notre Dame by the name of Frank Stams. He was an All-American linebacker on the 88 team. He gets drafted by the Rams. So, the 12th, 13th week, I get a call from one of their coaches who I know out there. He goes, "Hey, I just got to tell you about your boy Stams." I said, "What did he do now?" Stams is a character, all right? Akron, Ohio, St. Vincent, St. Mary. He went there before LeBron. He said, and John Robinson's the head coach of the Rams. He said, your boy Stams walked into Coach Rob and said, "Hey, Coach." He said, "What is it, Frank?" He said, "We having a team meeting today?" He said, "We always do, right?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, good. We getting our bowl gifts?" He said, "What the hell are you talking about, Frank?" He said, "Well, Coach, in college, we'd be getting our bowl gifts this week." He said, "Get your ass out of here, Stams." So, those college guys, you know, they're looking for those bowl gifts around week 13, week 14 in the NFL.
Yeah, well, and like we're about out of time, but Dave, you're talking about that part of it, the shock. I'm looking for the data that's going to come back. Ellis and Pete, we always talk about this. These kids, if you've been making, in some cases, $1 million, $2 million plus a year when you were 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, I'd like to see the data from the NFL. These kids, are they hungry? You know, people keep telling us, you got a cat over there at the house, man. Rob, don't feed him. He won't kill any mice. No, we feed that cat, and Spartacus cat, his name is Spartacus. Spartacus brings us mice and goes, hey, look what I did. Give me more food. That's how that game is played. But I just wonder how hungry they are.
I don't worry about the money part of it. Go ahead, Dave.
No, you go, Ellis. Your turn. Go ahead. You got
coming off of both of you. What you said about it, Dave, what I was taking from it, and of course, Pete, what you did all ties together. But I don't think the problem is going to be the money they've been getting, at least not except with certain little individuals. But this thing about moving around and not being accountable and not having to stay there and work for something, the pro people, and Pete, you may have been in it at the same time, but when they put the work hours in the rules for the players and the mandatory day off, some of the pro guys told us that about 2 or 3 or 4 years later, they could tell when they were getting these kids from the colleges, they could not focus and grind through a good work week in the pros because, like y'all saying, it's all day long, and they would lose it here. You know, not physically, they just couldn't focus and stay on track and do things constantly. And I think this NIL stuff, not the NIL, the portal stuff is going to be what shows up in the pro level. That's my gut.
Yeah. Two questions at the combine that guys are asked. Number one, can you take being coached hard? And what that means is, you know, we got everybody in this organization relying on you to be productive for us to win because it's our livelihood too. Can you take being coached hard? Can you take us being critical of your game?
Yeah.
Number two, give us your day.
Yeah.
What have you done in college from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed 7 days a week? What is your day?
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the two big combine questions. And there's a bunch of guys, they don't answer them right, like Ellis said. Well, you know, I play video games. I play Xbox. It's like, what the hell you mean you play an Xbox?
Yeah.
Get your ass to bed, man. You need to get your rest.
Yeah, you're right.
If those guys are up all night playing those damn games, which they do a bunch in college, that's a red flag for some NFL teams.
It is. And guys, we've run out of time. And Dave, to tell people about hempforpros.com.
Okay, it's our collaboration with the NFL Alumni Association. The focus is on pain relief, aches, pain, swelling, and then sleep relief as well. Everything on the site is NFL strength. And don't forget to use coupon code SIDELINES, one word, SIDELINES, to get a big chunk of change off anything that you buy on the website, hempforpro.com.
Hey, absolutely love it, guys. Thank y'all so much. And remember, Landers Ford, folks, it is truck month right now. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the GM, but all kinds of breaks on interest, on a lot of things about payments, 90 days before your first payment. So they are at I-240 in Mount Moriah and at Poplar and Houston Levee, right down the street from the great folks at Hewlett and Dunn on the square in Collierville. Get your roof looked at before it caves in, mytownroofing.com. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Have a great day, everybody. For EP Brendan Martin, I'm Rob Browne. Thanks for watching.